On the DistroWatch website, they published the release of Nitrux 5, which has generated some anticipation over the past week. We entered their website and clicked on download. But there was only a torrent available, so we went back to distro and clicked on the Nitrux link with the CachyOS kernel. It redirected us to SourceForge to download it from there. We booted into the live environment and quickly noticed that the load time was very slow. Nitrux, which started in 2018 as a non-stable Debian-based distribution with KDE Plasma. Upon startup, it displayed a system requirements message. We inspected the hyperlink compositor and opened the terminal. To begin, we had to run start calamares with sudo. The installation started and downloaded a few required missing important modules. Then, it gave the option to enter the language location and keyboard layout. Now we entered the username, the user, the hostname, and the password. Afterward, we selected the disk and the partitioning method and started the installation. Before starting to load, the system took about 15 minutes, which was a bit strange. Nitrux 5 uses OpenRC to maintain simplicity and includes the MauiKit framework. Then the copying began and the process became a bit faster. Besides the CachyOS kernel, it also offers the Nitrux kernel. Once finished, we rebooted the computer. We waited for Nitrux to start for the first time. I thought that 2 minutes for the first boot was normal, but that is the time it takes on every reboot. The system enters hyperlink. The system did not detect the Wi-Fi adapter, so we continued with Ethernet. We inspected the dock applications, which are minimal, and we saw the top bar. Again, it showed us the system requirements message. After inspecting the compositor, we opened the terminal, which looks modern, although different from the usual one. We ran the commands to check the current distribution, which mentioned only Nitrux and no other, the kernel, the initial memory, and the installation size. Nitrux does not use apt or pacman, only Flatpak and app image. To run Sysbench, we will do it from a container using Distrobox and the Debian Trixie Slim image. We entered the container, installed the necessary packages, then started the container and configured the necessary components. Once finished, the terminal indicated the change. We updated the system, this time using apt, and once finished, we checked if the packages Fastfetch, Sysbench, and Firefox were installed. None of them were. We then proceeded to install the packages. In this new version, the use of NX AppHub CLI is promoted, however, when checking the repository, the available packages are minimal. We ran Fastfetch, and more than showing information about Nitrux, it gave us information about the container. However, we could see the total memory consumed and the disk. Now, we used Sysbench for the evaluation, starting with the CPU, observing the performance with one thread, and then with 5 threads, through mathematical operations. We continued with the thread and mutex tests, to analyze the processor's concurrent load management and the resource efficiency and blocking mechanisms, respectively. We evaluated both memory read and write, with a comprehensive sequential benchmark to measure the system's overall ability to handle large memory operations. Then, we prepared the relevant necessary files to evaluate disk input and output, and now, we ran the final test to determine the overall storage performance. We ran the top command to measure the memory consumed by Firefox with one window, without active extensions, just to observe the initial resource consumption. We opened a second tab and played a high-definition video, then a third tab, and finally a fourth tab, watching how memory consumption increased with each new tab. We have finished reviewing and evaluating Nitrux 5. Now we will analyze the results observed and measured during the tests and observations made. Nitrux 5 uses kernel version 6.17.7, installs around 1,000 packages, and uses the lightweight hyperlink compositor. These 3 aspects are quite remarkable. The initial memory consumption was 3.5 GB, a fairly high initial value. The installation occupies 8.1 GB, an average value, and it took 120 seconds to boot, which is terrible. In the CPU tests with one thread, it has an average value. Then, in multi-thread, the direct thread test and the mutex test have very low values compared to other distributions. Memory read and write is acceptable, but as for Firefox's consumption and disk read and write, these values are also poor compared to other distributions. In conclusion, Nitrux 5 is a secure distribution due to having an immutable kernel, but in terms of performance, it did not meet expectations or the usual Linux experience. That's all for now. We will continue with performance tests. If you liked the video, give it a like, comment, subscribe, and activate the notification bell. See you next time.